Today is Saturday, February 6th, 2016, and today I'd like to take up completing or talking a bit more about the issue of vows, which we began a few weeks ago and looked at a few koans between since then, and now I'd like to return to vows. So, looking at vows, a few weeks ago we looked at the nature of vows and a bit of their history in Zen Buddhist practice. If you'll remember, we looked at the Six Patriarchs Platform Sutra, which includes the first presentation by the Sixth Patriarch, Hui Neng, in Zen Buddhism of a form of these great vows for all, which we recite at the end of all formal periods of Zazen. We also discussed their role in practice, quoting both Robert Aiken Roshi and his book of intimate daily vow experiences, The Dragon Who Never Sleeps, which is a really lovely book, where he starts with the morning, goes through nighttime, starts at waking up in the morning and going to sleep at night, and has a little verse and a vow for all the events of the day, from being stuck in traffic to being at a difficult meeting to watching your children as they sleep. It's really quite a lovely book. And we looked at the enlightenment experience in the three pillars of Zen of Koan Yamada, who went on to become Yamada Roshi and Robert Aiken Roshi's teacher, who recommended that, given his own wonderful experience, that he writes to Yasutani Roshi to tell that American, he's talking about Philip Kapleau, who had been inquiring about enlightenment. He said that that American should vow to attain enlightenment. He's talking about full enlightenment, though it take the incalculable future. He doesn't say years, doesn't say billions of years even. He said vow to attain it, no matter where you're at now. That would take the incalculable future. We also mentioned that vows go all the way back to the Buddha, who sat beneath the Bodhi tree and vowed that though his skin and flesh should dry up and wither away, he would not get up from this seat until he'd attained full enlightenment. He made a vow. That is, he took his seat, and this time he meant it. We too can, in our own way, vow to do our very best every day. We can, from this day and all days forward from here, vow to do our best to awaken more fully and be able to be of use and benefit to all life, human and non-human alike. This is a reasonable vow for Zen practitioners, for Buddhist practitioners, and can be the foundation of our own meaningful daily path. But find a way to personalize it to make it your own. I did that in the end of my book, Endless Path, which I'll read from, Awakening Within the Buddhist Imagination, a Jataka Tale Zen Practice in Daily Life. At the end of that book, I talked about the vows I personalized for my ordination back in 2009 and suggest it could be a fun way. Sounds like silly to say a fun way, but it was a fun way to make use of our practice and personalize it so that we can stand by our own vows, not just abstractions that we incorporate. So, to repeat and sum up a bit of what we said last time we looked at vows, vows organize our lives. They are engines, whether we know it or not, dynamics of the interior, and they express themselves in and as our daily life direction. They are what puts the English on the ball, so to speak, giving arc and angle and spin to our forging ahead through the events of daily life into the inescapable facts of aging and final ends. how to steer and not just remain in crisis management mode. We steer by vows. Vows allow for what is deepest in us to take form and be our guide. Let my deepest desire to aid all beings, aid my planet, guide me in my actual life decisions. Is this really so far out? So naive? Without such willingness, we remain lumps of self centered meat being slowly cooked away. Whose meal are we? Why are we here? Why have we been born? Why must we age? And if you've not yet figured it out, why must we also invariably and inevitably leave it all? Sunlight, trees, music, books, cups of water, friends and family, and die. Vows are how intimacy with deepest reality can be expressed. Intimacy, of course, is another name for enlightenment. We don't get it, we awake to it, to what's always been here from before our parents were even born. Vows are words from the heart. We mean them with all our being. And in many ways, vows, because they aim for and mobilize our best, are impossible to achieve. Buddha's way is unattainable. I vow to embody it fully. So vows mean doing our best without backing down. Falling down, yes, but getting back up again. Because we've made vows. We're kept serious, which means not glum, but sincere. So we have wedding vows, and vows of revenge, and bodhisattva vows. Vows help us live from our deepest heart mind. No longer content with the endless flow of surfaces, we claim our participatory role in reality and make vows. Or as Aiken Roshi, quoting Wordsworth, the prelude, wrote to open his book, The Dragon Who Never Sleeps, my heart was full. I made no vows, but vows were then made for me. They come through. We do not have to force it. As a Bushman told Lawrence Vanderpost, there is a dream dreaming us. Vows are prajna, non-dual wisdom in action. In many ways, vows are what's here from the start, what we come into this life with. Our whole life can be seen as a process of stripping away much of the temporary scaffolding and coming closer to the reality that sustains it all and always has been our own deepest primal vows. Many Zen practitioners have discovered that those personal vows turn out to be exemplified and embodied in the very vows we give voice to after our formal periods of zazen. Great vows for all. And as you know, every morning in our little session here at Endless Path, we recite Torei Zenji's Bodhisattva's vow. Torei was Hakuin's major heir, a very strong practitioner, yet his vow is so tender and reverential. Quite extraordinary, really. This too, for Torei Zenji, was an expression of personalizing vows. This was his own unique take on the life of practice realization as vow. Now, let me read to you a response I recently wrote to an old Zen friend who emailed me to raise the issue that vows, even vows, like our great vows for all, can make us aim at something we don't yet have outside ourselves. She sent me some vows that were essentially excellent wishes for the welfare of all. Uh, she felt that would be a better way of expressing our intent so that we weren't aiming for something outside ourselves. So I responded and wrote back to her. I wrote that striving after goals that are outside us is indeed a potential problem. But actualizing our deepest mind and aspiration is not. We actualize our aspiration and emotion each time we take our vows, which we do daily, essentially. Uh, that is, whenever we're uh, sitting formally. I do them, to tell you the truth, every day after I sit in the morning, which I do every day. I recite the Bodhisattva Four Great Vows for All. They remind me of what my day uh, is based on, uh, not just the wonderful quality of Zazen, but on actualizing these great vows. So, this is a meaningful and important practice, reciting the vows, and it happens now, each time. Sometimes goals are guides. If your goal, let's say, is to have a garden, then you need to prepare the soil and plant your crops. That's not striving after a goal, but actualizing it in the form you're capable of right now. And then I continued, I like your vows. They're solid and lovely affirmations and prayers, but they are not quite vows. Vows include intentionality. With a vow, we ourselves aim and mean to do something regardless of difficulties, obstacles, and setbacks. Vows are a vehicle to carry us forward. They say that we are choosing to fulfill something and mean to do the actual work of pedaling that gets us there, up that hill. We don't assume that it will happen on its own. It's not a wish, but a determination. Dogen said that what is most important is not the great ocean, but the harbor and the weir. That is, not the great ocean of vast, empty mind, but the places where the ocean and shore converge, and where we ourselves can actually own the personal practice of actualizing the way. So to vow to do something helps keep our intention real. It is a compass and guide, as well as an actualization of the real work right where we are, always at the shallows where shore and ocean eternally meet. It is not striving after a goal. It is an actualization of that goal as a living reality now. It is an encouragement as well. And it is a way of checking ourselves and renewing our deepest personal commitment to the welfare of all beings. Of course, with that deepest commitment of mind, the personal world of self and other drops away. There is just great vows for all. On the vows and about saving all living beings in taking the path of Zen, Robert Aitken Roshi writes, nobody fulfills these great vows for all, but we vow to fulfill them as best we can. They are our path. So let's look at contemporary versions of the Bodhisattva vows, or Great Vows for All, in various translations into English. First, let's recall the original, which we receive from Japan, Shigu Seigonmon. Shujo Muhen Seigando Bono Mujin Segandan Homon Muryo Seigangaku Butsudo Mujo Seiganjo. Rose and I first heard those vows recited in Japanese when we were traveling and staying with Roshi Kapleau in Mexico. We were in the Cacahuamilpa caves, underground caverns. There were stalactites and stalagmites, and it was dark and shadowy and empty in there. We were the only people there. We were walking along with Roshi, and he said, "Hey, have you ever heard the four vows in Japanese?" We said, "No, Roshi, we haven't." He said, "Listen." And in this deep booming voice, he recited those vows. The reason was because in the cave it would all echo. So he did it just for the fun of it, to hear those vows echoing through these vast underground caverns. Shujo muhen segando bono mujin segandan homon muryo segangaku butsudo mujo seiganjo. Now, here are a variety of translations into English. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Desires are inexhaustible. I vow to end them all. Dharma gates are infinite. I vow to enter them all. The Buddha way is unexcelled. I vow to attain it completely. Going on. However innumerable all beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to overcome them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to fathom them all. The Buddha's path is endless. I vow to follow it to its very end. And living beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Confusions are countless. I vow to cut them all. The Buddha's teachings are limitless. I vow to penetrate them all. The Buddha's way is highest. I vow to achieve it. And sentient beings are numberless. I vow to liberate them all. Desires are inexhaustible. I vow to end them all. The Dharma gates are infinite. I vow to master them all. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to attain it. And living beings are innumerable. I vow to save them. Delusive passions are inexhaustible. I vow to extinguish them. The Dharma gates are immeasurable. I vow to master them. The way of the Buddha is unsurpassable. I vow to fulfill it. And ordinary beings are innumerable. I vow to liberate them all. Defilements are endless. I vow to eliminate them all. Buddhist teachings are unlimited. I vow to learn them all. The ways of enlightenment are supreme. I vow to achieve them all. And I vow to liberate all ordinary beings from my mind. I vow to eliminate all defilements from my mind. I vow to embrace every teaching of my self-nature. I vow to achieve the way of enlightenment from my self-nature. Though the myriad beings are numberless, I vow to save them. Though defilements rise endlessly, I vow to end them. Though Dharma gates are innumerable, I vow to study them. Though Buddha's way is unsurpassed, I vow to embody it. And beings are numberless, I vow to awaken with them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable, I vow to become it. And masses of creatures without bounds, I vow to save them all. Anxiety and hate, inexhaustible, I vow to break them all. Dharma gates beyond measure, I vow to learn them all. Buddha way, nothing higher, I vow to accomplish. And, however innumerable all beings are, we vow to enlighten them. However inexhaustible the passions are, we vow to extinguish them. However immeasurable the dharmas are, we vow to master them. However incomparable the Buddha truth is, we vow to attain it. And I will free the limitless throng of life. I will cut inexhaustible blinding rage. I will learn imponderable gateways to truth. I will find the incomparable way awake. Thich Nhat Hanh has an interesting spin. His version goes, however innumerable beings are, I vow to meet them with kindness and interest. However inexhaustible the states of suffering are, I vow to touch them with patience and love. However immeasurable the dharmas are, I vow to explore them deeply. However incomparable the mystery of interbeing, I vow to surrender to it freely. Then Robert Aitken Roshi and the Diamond Sangha, though not all the Diamond Sangha, I don't remember what we did at Ring of Bone. But Robert Aitken Roshi's, which we used here until just recently, are the many beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Greed, hatred, and ignorance rise endlessly. I vow to abandon them. Dharma gates are countless. I vow to wake to them. Buddha's way is unsurpassed. I vow to embody it fully. Now, I will read my commentary on these four vows before I go to our version that we use now. So this is from Endless Path, which is where the Zendo gets its name. First came the book, then came the Zendo. And I write in the closing words chapter, let's see, in 2009, after some 40 years of both formal and informal Zen practice and many Jukai ceremonies, as part of the preparation for my full lay ordination by Dane and Henry Roshi of the Zen Center of Denver, I was asked to examine various fundamental Buddhist concepts. I did so, writing a brief Dharma talk for each, as well as a little verse, demonstrating in a natural way my Zen understanding. Here's a selection of the ones that relate most directly to the stories and commentaries in Endless Path. They are expressed quite personally, even idiosyncratically. Creating such vows and personal explorations of Dharma, I found, can be a fun and useful expression of practice, a way of internalizing and settling what might otherwise remain distant and abstract. I recommend it as a useful and beneficial practice to anyone interested. I know I learned a lot in the process of doing mine. So I'll just read on the four vows. The first, the many beings are numberless. I vow to save them. This vow is our fundamental aspiration. The very largeness, the expansiveness of this vow, which embraces non human as well as human beings, excites our contemporary interest. Life forms are numberless, limitless, as modern science reveals. There are numberless life forms in the depths of the oceans, in volcanic heat, in frozen wastes, in an inch of soil, within our own bodies and eyebrows, in the air, and out in the depths of space. And each is conditioned and suffering. The squirrel looks in my window in the -5 degree January weather, hunched against the cold. Obviously, that was some other January, not the 60-degree weather where the robins are hopping around picking up worms, like this January. How will it eat with the snow so deep? Where will it find food? How will it stay warm? I too am limited and suffering, as is my neighbor. This too is clear. How will we get money for shelter and food? How will we protect our families? Yet, as Hakuin says, from the beginning, all beings are Buddha. We know this too. Buddha or no, can I heal the sorrows of this world and all its suffering Buddha beings, imperfect and vulnerable as I am? Impossible! Yet I want to. So I take up the way of practice, relinquishing attachments to myself and to others altogether by seeing into the actual way of things. The sixth patriarch says that to save the many beings is to liberate the many beings of my own mind. This is an intimate and endless process. The many are numberless. I vow to save them. The caterpillar on the leaf reminds thee of thy mother's grief. That's William Blake. And my poem that I wrote, verse to go with the first vow. After the spring rains, I bend down to lift worms from the sidewalk. So that's in relation to the first vow. The many beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Second vow. Greed, hatred, and ignorance rise endlessly. Have you discovered that? I hope so. Because if you don't see that, then you're likely to act it out, harming yourself and others. Very important vow. Greed, hatred, and ignorance rise endlessly. I vow to abandon them. Well, to abandon them, first of all, of course, we have to notice them. If we don't notice them, we can't abandon them. Then we always live in thrall to our own greed, hatred, and ignorance. As the sixth patriarch said, to liberate all beings is to liberate the beings of my own mind. So, now the commentary. That was all off the cuff. Rather than cutting down or uprooting the three poisons, greed, hatred, and ignorance, I vow to let them go and not continue to build my old nest among their tangled branches. Thinking I can stop them, end them, only increases the difficulty and deepens the anguish. That way leads to increasing effort, strengthening the opposing self, and adding to despair. Better to let it go from the start. That is, now. Here's the verse. Greed, hatred, and ignorance are my life. This mystery of conditioned life arises moment by moment. This is life. I release it endlessly. Third vow. Dharma gates are countless. I vow to wake to them. This call of the crow, caw! This good morning, this whir of the furnace starting up, or the ongoing flow of countless Dharma gates. I vow to be present for each. This means dropping the life of self-concern and finding whatever I call myself, to be again, as always, just this. Then, too, the four vows, Eightfold Path, Four Noble Truths, sutras, and countless koans are all formal Dharma gates. I vow to continue on indefinitely awakening with and through each, which in the end, over and over, can only return to this. Here's the verse. The postman delivers, but also most kindly picks up our mail too. I must remember to thank him. Finally, the fourth, Buddha's way is unsurpassed. I vow to embody it fully. Each vow is complete. The fourth fulfills the first. The first implies and is the fourth. Yet how can the Buddha way alone of all ways be unsurpassed? Is it really better than all other ways, all other religions? Turn it around. If it is what is genuine in all ways, all religions, it is Paleolithic, the still flickering, liminal, torchlit, now seen, now gone, original animal mystery realm of the ancient Buddhas, there from before the beginningless beginning, there, for it is the nothing that is not there, and the nothing that is, as Wallace Stevens says in The Snowman. How could this nothing, that is everything, be surpassed? I vow to embody it. The endless work endlessly continues, stepping forward from the top of a 100-foot pole. Then again, the Buddha way is unsurpassed for me. It remains the clearest, most direct body of teaching. I think with awe of the great Jataka tradition of total, ongoing, evolving transformation of character. It is the way not just of awakening, but of complete human fulfillment. This is a long road, one we vow, I vow, to continue walking because it cannot be surpassed. It is the road that is left when all else is gone. Clear, direct, profound. What a relief! In practice, everything drops away. What is there but, and now the verse, white flakes fall, crows call, the wind whispers poems in the branches of the trees, silver snow dusts the branches. Could it be more perfect, more unsurpassed? And now our current version of the vows here at Endless Path Zendo. The many beings are numberless. I vow to free them all. Greed, hatred, and ignorance rise endlessly. I vow to abandon them all. Dharma gates are countless. I vow to wake to them all. Buddha's way is unattainable. I vow to embody it all. I hope that you too see that our own daily, continuous practice through all our own ups and downs is itself the work of not just vowing, but fulfilling in small daily ways these great vows, which have been held by all Buddhist tradition, not just Zen. The form, of course, is Zen, but these vows appear in all Buddhist tradition, one way or another, as essential guides for human and other beings, as the Jatakas show. The tales demonstrate the Bodhisattva on his endless path, discovering in each life the reality of what it means to wake up and live by one's own deepest purpose, by one's own innate, original vow. Roshi Kapleau used to say, we've all long ago taken the vow to become a Buddha. It is like the vow of the peach seed to become a peach tree. This is our innate vow, to be fully what we're capable of being, to do the work that makes this vow real is a many lifetime effort. We begin again with this breath, this sitting, this koan, this sesshin. The four vows, or great vows for all, however, are Zen's wonderfully condensed version of all essential bodhisattva vows in a nutshell. There are many longer and more elaborate ones in Buddhist tradition, starting with the sutras, but Zen goes to the heart of it. For this we can all be very, very grateful. Vows spring from the ground of practice realization, the endless path from which our own little Zendo gets its name. And vows will surely arise as we continue in our practice, personal and meaningful vows that will guide, encourage us, and keep us on track as we continue on. So we'll stop here and recite together our great vows for all.